We have turned the page fully into spring, and it is time for our April monthly weather roundup. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. With me, New Jersey State climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. And more importantly, now that we're recording this on May 5th, my birthday buddy. We are just 8 days away from our birthdays. Happy early birthday to you. How are you feeling coming up on May 13th?
Almost another year older. And
Oh, okay.
happy birthday to you. No, this isn't a big one. And whatever. I'm just grateful to have another birthday. At my age, you're just
Oh, okay. At what age do you start feeling grateful just to have another birthday? Is that
yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that one.
all right? All right, you get back to me. That any plans for your birthday?
We're going to be heading off out of state to see our nephew graduate from college. So I
Okay,
think I'll be
all right.
driving most of that.
Okay, gotcha. I will also be driving. I'll be on the Parkway plenty on May 13th. So not the most exciting birthdays for the two of us, I guess, but it's okay. So we've had more exciting ones in the past. All right. So here's the thing. So the month of April, my first thought when I was emailing you some topics, I was like, God, we have nothing to talk about again. But then I laughed. Yeah, I did laugh because I was like, well, we always figure out a way to fill a half hour. So I'm not concerned about that. But then I started thinking about drought, and that is a big deal. And then you, this morning, or was it last night? Can't remember. Early
This
this morning,
morning.
last night said, hey, what about the freeze we had on April 21st? So we're going to talk about the freeze. We'll talk about the heat wave we had too in April, but let's talk about drought. Let's start off with that. Um, you know, New Jersey continues to be in a drought warning. I think the biggest difference between last month when we talked about it and this month when we talked about it is that we're now in a D2, which is a severe drought, a level 2 of 4 drought for parts of New Jersey, mainly where I am at the coast, parts of
Right.
pretty much all of Ocean County from Point Pleasant down to LBI, and then Cape May County. No surprise there at the Cape May bubble. But what I thought was interesting too was we're really just a small part of what's been I would say, a large drought on the East Coast, particularly in the Southeast and Florida, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, Southeast, well, it was a La Nina winter and they tend to be very dry in La Nina winters and they're at D4 level down there. But there's a lot of drought across the country right now. New England, northern New England, it's stayed on from last summer. From here on south, it's stayed around, developing more in the south. Here, it keeps on coming. 21 of the last 24 months have had below normal precipitation in New Jersey. It's just that beat goes on. It's the longest we've seen since the turn of the century when we had a drought emergency. We're in a drought warning now, according to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Do not be surprised, and I'm not exposing anything that I know and trying to give a call out for that. But I would not be surprised if we have a dry May. You may see New Jersey's first drought emergency since 2002. It was actually lifted in February of 2003.
So you think it could, right? Assuming we don't get much rain, you think we could get into that emergency as soon as a few, like 4 or 5 weeks from now?
Yep,
Okay.
I truly do.
Okay.
I
And what's
think,
driving that, right? So, like a little more in the weeds, like where are we with like
yeah,
water drinking
I
levels?
mean, we're about 75% of normal precipitation over the last 24 months. So we've lost half a year of precip in the last 24 months. Groundwater in South Jersey has just not had a chance to rebound at all. And that keeps stream levels lower in southern part of the state. The reservoirs in North Jersey did respond with some slightly above normal rain in March in North Jersey, not in the South, that helped to fill the reservoirs up much better than they had been a month sooner. But also you have to look at the time of year. This is the beginning of the water consumption season, if you will,
Yeah.
by humans. Watering lawns, filling cars, filling pools, washing cars, and also plants are using that water to grow, to transpire moisture into the atmosphere. Warmer temperatures More of the rain that falls quickly evaporates. It's a tough time of the year that could get worse more quickly during the summer. We always talk about sneaky winter droughts.
Yeah.
There's less water consumption, there's less evaporation, and so on and so forth. But if these conditions, and we were talking at the end of August, early
Yeah.
September, I might say they'd give it a longer wait and see. But I think it's potentially prudent with an emergency, they can impose water restrictions for public consumption,
Right.
lawn watering. I mean, it can vary. I don't have any idea what it would be because it's been so long since we've been in an emergency. But you also have a new commissioner, you have a new governor, and I think they are very aware of what's going on. And the last thing they want to do is be caught behind
Yeah.
something like this. So I think they'll be very progressive and forward looking. I think that's especially, again, given the time of the year and the persistence of these conditions going back now 24 months.
Yeah. I know the Governor Shell released a statement last week, I believe, just urging conservation of water. So, voluntary. I should say too, all of New Jersey, 100% is in some stage of drought
Yeah.
at this point in time. Do you know of any, like, are there other states that are in mandatory water restrictions? Are you aware of any?
I
Just
don't know
top of
where
your head?
it's certainly, I know it's not Delaware. I haven't heard of anything statewide in Pennsylvania. No, I
No?
haven't
Okay.
really
No,
been paying a lot of attention, but you're right. The
yeah.
governor did. You'll find a quote of mine in her
Uh,
state last week.
all right.
I
I
was
should have done more research on this.
I was asked to provide something, and I talked about the 75% of normal precipitation over the last 2 years. I don't know if they got into I can't remember exactly what
Oh, hold on. I see the quote. Should I
okay.
read it? Here we
Go
go. I'm going to read the quote. No, it's just two sentences.
Remind me.
I remind precipitation across New Jersey has been below normal for approximately 75% of the last 24 months. As you said, the typical wet weather that New Jersey has relied on to restore our water supplies over the winter and spring has not fully been realized.
That's brilliant.
Um,
I mean, yeah.
Brilliant statement. Brilliant statement by the
No,
state
but I think
president.
that last part is germane, and that is people think all winter long. Oh, we've had all this snow, and what
Ah,
thing we have a drought? Well, there wasn't that much snow. I mean, it was above normal, but it wasn't that much liquid out of that snow. The vast majority of our winter precipitation is always rain, even in a snowy winter,
yeah.
and we didn't have much rain, so we were fooled. A lot of people were fooled. And,
Yeah.
and we've been running about an inch below normal each month. It's not like early in the drought in the fall of 24, where, I mean, the bottom fell out of our precip gauges. But we've been running three-quarters of normal, three-quarters of normal, three-quarters of normal. So it's not like we're not seeing rain. It's just been consistently below normal, but not exceedingly so.
Yeah.
Um,
Nickel and diming our ways into,
it
more
it
severe drought.
it adds up.
Yeah. Yeah. Just with the snow, and I'm glad you transitioned there for me because I did get a few questions about this.
Okay.
So, in New Jersey, right? I mean, there's really, even a snowy winter doesn't really do much for our water supply, nor does it really recharge the ground. But I'm assuming, right, that also extends towards the snow coverage because there were some comments that were saying, well, hey, we had snow on the ground for so long, but that doesn't really mean anything either, right?
I mean, it puts off the melt, so it pushes the water close, moistening the ground. It pushes it closer to spring. So it holds on to it a little bit longer, which normally is so ephemeral here in New Jersey. It comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. It's stuck around for a month's time.
Yeah.
We had the heavy snow at the end of February, which was great to start off the spring season with moisture conditions on the ground. And it's somewhat associated with the fact we haven't had a really active wildfire season,
Yeah.
despite the fact that conditions have been below normal. And we can thank some of that on the snows that fell in January and into February, not melting till late February, early March. So there is some benefit there. But yeah, you're right. You have to go up into New England, up in the northern New York State, to really build up a snowpack that melts off after sitting on the ground for 90 days and replenishes the rivers come March or
Right.
early April. That's just not the regime we have here in the mid-Atlantic.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me end with this before we go to break. How lucky were we to have that extremely wet May last year?
That saved us from a drought emergency last year, period. I mean, there's just no question. We were running so low after that previous fall and winter, and that really helped us a lot. And then we had pretty ample rains in July as well. And since July, every month's been below normal.
Yeah. All right, we'll take our break here. We'll hope for rain and plenty of it over the next couple of weeks. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about our temperatures in April and the wild swings we had here on the Monthly Weather Roundup. Weather Call will call, text, or email you when tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings hit your area. Sign up for just $15 a year at the link in this description. Welcome back to the Monthly Weather Roundup. All right, we're still talking about April. We're going to move from the moisture and get into the temperatures here. We're going to talk both about record warmth and a pretty hard freeze. But let's just start off overall in April. Where did we round up?
I'd like everyone listening to this to think for a second. Was April warmer than normal or colder than normal?
I think some people would say it's colder than normal, but
Or close to normal?
yeah,
Because
I'm
it
not
was a
gonna.
roller coaster ride. I call it thermal whiplash.
That's a good one.
Every other week was 5 to 10 above normal, 5 to 10 below normal, and above. So when all was said and done, the warmth won out, and this was New Jersey's and South Jersey, more specifically, 6th warmest April on record. And we always talk about the length of record. It's 132 years back to 1895. So, and the coastal Jersey, east of the Parkway, 8th warmest.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a top 10. Now, those preliminary numbers, they have barely changed by 1/10 of a degree in the last couple of days. The final numbers should be out of the National Center probably tomorrow or Thursday, but they're not going to change much. So above normal temperatures, boy, roller coaster ride, whiplash, whatever you want to call it. We had summer and we had really quite cold and damaging cold conditions. So if you want
let's talk about the cold first. We'll talk about that hard freeze that we had on the 21st of April here. I'll admit I didn't realize, we were talking beforehand, I didn't realize how significant it was, particularly once you got further inland. I mean, I know generally Parkway corridor dropped to like the upper 20s, which is hard freeze-ish, but there were colder temperatures. I'll let you go.
Yeah, of our 70 weather network stations, all but 10 went below freezing that morning. And the 10 were like Seagirt, Little Lake Harbor Township, Atlantic City Marina, West Cape May.
You had to see the water for you to not.
Yeah, you had to see the water,
Yeah.
basically. But otherwise, it was a combination of factors that led to a really hard freeze that preliminarily looks like it impacted every kind of fruit grown around the state. We're talking blueberries, strawberries, peaches, apples, grapes. And so it didn't just attack one region of the state, it was over most of the state. And it didn't just go after one particular variety of fruit. And we could be talking damages in the $100 million range because there are some areas that lost 80% of the buds. Now, we have to wait and see. Some buds, there'll be second buds. They tend to be smaller and fewer, but that could save things. And so you have to wait some of these out to just see just how much damage occurred. Horticulturally, there were impacts too. I know a rose bush in front of my house got nipped along the top of it. And it's a south-facing exposure, but of course it was nighttime. But I noticed that was nipped. So even the horticulture community got hit. So what we had there, it was a combination. It had been so warm the week before. We'll talk about. So the buds were out. It was late later than the normal late freeze in most of the state. We had a freeze on the 8th that was actually a little colder overall statewide, but it's early in the month. It was kind of
Right.
normal.
Right.
Then came the heat wave. Then came this freeze, but it was also the magnitude of the cold and it was the duration of the cold. For hours, it was below freezing. And some areas, over a dozen of our stations, got to 19 to 24 degrees. And most of the rest were 25
Yeah.
to 32 degrees.
That's
So
cold.
when you get that cold, mitigative things, you may have heard about fans
Yeah.
blowing in
Yeah.
the air, putting water, spraying water on some of the peach trees and apple trees and other things, even strawberries, to form like an igloo, an insulated cover. Smudge pots out in the fields with smoke that holds some of the heat of the day near the surface. These mitigative things don't work when you get down into the low 20s.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do. And this is just a big hit on agriculture early in the season. Again, to be determined next month, we should have a better feel on this. But many farmers were telling folks at Extension here at Rutgers, this may have been the worst they'd ever seen.
Really?
This was
Wow.
particularly notable. Again, late in April, following a very warm previous week.
Yeah.
And here, we're in the middle of a drought to worry about too.
Well,
Although
yeah.
that may have had a little bit to do with it because the ground was relatively dry, and a dried ground can cool off pretty quickly as compared to a moist ground, which may have some heat of evaporation and such, helping keep things a little milder.
Yeah, and I like from a Rutgers perspective, you say the extension stations, right? I mean, they're in I think every county, almost every county in New Jersey, right? Like what's their role in this?
Well, they help with the evaluative process.
Okay.
And they help gather data, and we're gathering data for the extension broadly in the state so that if there's any kind of compensation through U.S. Department of Agriculture or another source that could be obtained,
Right.
we'll provide some of that information to help justify the need for it. Ultimately, the justification is what's being seen in the fields.
Okay.
But this will support the fact that this was an act of God, if you
Yeah.
will,
Yeah.
and not just malfeasance, although I don't know how you'd come up with that on the part of the growers. And
Yeah.
we're talking about temperatures. The lowest in Cape May County was 25 at Woodbine. These
Yeah.
are our weather stations. Hamilton, Blueberry Country, got
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Berkeley up in Ocean County
Ocean.
at Miller Air Park, 23.
That cools. That place is cool.
And Cream Ridge in western Monmouth County, 23 degrees. So, and that's apple country out
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
So this shows you, folks. I mean, if you woke up in your suburban neighborhood or down near the coast, you knew it was a chilly morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you didn't realize what the farmers were having to deal with
Sure.
on that morning.
Yeah.
And back on the 8th, it wasn't as cold in some areas.
Yeah.
Duration wasn't as great, but even if it was, the plants weren't as far
There
along.
weren't
So the buds were more protected. So there we go. So there's
Yeah.
your cold story
All
in the
right.
6th warmest April on record.
Right, right. Yeah, topsy, or what'd you say? Thermal whiplash. I
Thermal
just say weather whiplash, but thermal
No,
whiplash.
this one's got to be thermal
Yeah,
whiplash.
thermal. I know. I'm thinking too elementary here. All right, let's get to the heat. So April 13th to the 17th. Man, I mean, it felt like summer and then some. I mean, it wasn't the humid summer, but the
Right.
heat was on. I got some numbers. I got some things for you here.
Go.
So at ACY Airport, we did the following. We were tied for the second earliest 90-degree day on record on April 15th. We broke the daily record high on the 14th at 88 degrees. I did on the 15th at 90 degrees, which, by the way, was the other second place. Broke the daily warm low temperature record on April 15th at 65 degrees. Then on the 16th, we broke the daily heat record at 91. This is like data overload right now. And then the second time on record with 2 or more 90-degree days in April but it was the earliest 2+ days in the 90s. I got one more thing too, but I'm going to save that for when we get a little down the road.
And that, so people know, is Atlantic City Airport in
Yes,
Pomona,
inland.
inland, what, 15 miles or so?
I think it's actually 8.
Okay, maybe it's not,
But anyway, yeah, it's not
but
not much.
in
Not
the
much.
Pinelands, in the
Yeah. Oh
Pinelands,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exhibit this. Yeah, the highest temperature one of our network stations had in Cape May was 89 at Cape May Courthouse on the 16th.
And that's very impressive there, by the way, because you still have the bay to your. I know it's inland, but you're surrounded on water all 3 sides there.
Yep. Hamilton, which had the coldest
Yeah.
temperature in Atlantic County on the 21st at 27, was 94,
Whew.
hottest. Berkeley, which was the coldest on the
Yeah.
21st at 23, was the warmest in Ocean County at 93. And Creameridge, well, no, and Howell.
How?
Howell hit 23, which was it was
That's cold.
Creameridge for the 23.
That's right.
Howell hit 92.
Got it.
Howell hit 92. So yeah, I mean, wow, it was something
It
to
was
talk.
toasty, man. I mean, after the winter we had, and we've discussed how cold it was. It was cold. It was cold. It wasn't record cold, but it did feel like wow. Like I didn't think this day was going to happen. Like it was pretty incredible, and of course, record setting both during the day and at night. And for as cold as the hard freeze was on the 21st, we were more above average than that was below average. And we did that for multiple days. And like we said, the kind of heat we had inland was nearly unprecedented on record.
But don't forget also, people, it's a while ago, the 1st of April, Hamilton hit 86 degrees. And the 2nd of April, Perry Hill over in Camden County hit 85 degrees.
Right.
So we started the month warm. Then we had that cold spell the 6th to the 10th. Then we had the warm spell that you've already defined from the 13th to the 17th or whatever. Yeah. And then we had the cold spell starting again on the 19th that went through the 21st. And then towards the end of the month, the 27th and 28th, we fell below freezing in spots. So again, whiplash.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too. I just want to make mention to this. We broke more heat records in that 1 week than we did cold records all last winter. I mean, it's funny, but it's true.
That's the interesting thing about when we look at temperatures and all. Yeah. If you look back the last 2 years, we've had a number of warmer than top 10 seasons or top 10 months for warmth. Yet we also had cold winter of 24, 25, and we had a cold November of 25 to February of 26. Mm-hmm. But none of those cold months ranked in the top 10.
Right.
For cold. They were 30th or 40th. So what we've got, I think we've talked about this before, the distribution of temperatures. Normally they're up around here, but you can be on the cold side or the warm side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even in a warming world, you can have cold. But as the temperatures have warmed, we've shifted curve. So there's still cold over here.
Right.
It's just not as frequent as it was when it was here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not praying here. I'm just doing my bell curve.
You're praying for rain.
Well, yeah, with that. But the point being that even in a warming world, there's still the probability you're going to get cold. It's just those probabilities are lower. Meanwhile, your probabilities of being exceedingly warm, which were always there, but they've increased as the curve is shifted over.
Right.
And that's the nature of things, why you can't just take 1 day of weather, 1 week of weather, 1 month of record of weather. You're talking years. We haven't had years over here in a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
When you're looking at days and weeks and a month here or there, we can still be on the cool side.
Yeah, totally. I'll end with this here. And I think we texted about this. Seagirt on one of these days here. That Seagirt station, man, that was like it had no identity that day. It didn't know what it wanted to be because the sea breeze, that ocean was cold. The
Amazing.
land breeze was hot. I got some numbers here. 7:30 a.m., 83 degrees. Nice. Seems like a good beach day, right? What happened an hour later? 60. And then it was 73 at 2:05. Sea breeze kind of got fooled a little bit or got pushed back. I don't know what you want to call it. But at 4:05, it went down to 62. Then the sea breeze weakened for the day. As it does, it turns back into a land breeze. It was 90 at 4:30 p.m. I actually remember I told somebody, not this day, it was the following day. I was in Spring Lake near Seagirt, and I said, "Oh, what are you doing the rest of the day?" They said, "I'm going to go to the beach." I said, "You should go to the beach after 4 o'clock because that's when the land breeze is going to work back in."
Or before noon.
Or before noon, right? Well, this was already like 11:30.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
This is advice, and those of you who live near the beach know this. You go until about 11 or 12, let it warm up, 10, 11, and then forget about it for hours. And sometimes, even in the summer, we see the warmest temperature of the day at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. And if you want to see a graph like that depicts this, read my report that will be posted on the State Climate website within the next couple of days. I took the 24-hour time series for that period of time. There were 2 days in a row where it was almost exactly quite similar, with the fall right after 11 a.m. and then a rise. You'd look, they were almost identical. But I took one of those 24-hour periods, and you can see that figure in the report this month. How about that for a little advertising?
I like that. Of course. We love promoting the great work at the State Climate Office here on the Monthly Weather Roundup. And you can go to njclimate.org for that. It'll be on the right-ish hand side in the coming days. All right. That's it. That's what we got. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
And we had nothing to talk about.
I know. Well, I see. That's why I said I knew better when I was emailing you. I said, "Nah." I said, "We'll figure this out."
No, that's about.
I think we could do this in outer space. I think we could do a 30-minute episode.
Space weather.
Yeah, space weather. Yeah.
I think I just finished up a couple things. We're mentioning we've escaped the bullet with the fire season thus far, but that could still come about. We've not had severe weather that we've seen in past springs thus far. We had some rumbles of thunder on a few days in April, but we haven't had a major squall line with severe weather come through, which again, it's only the start of that season. Here on the East Coast, it picks up as we get to June, July, and August. But so far, we've dodged that type of severe weather and dangerous fire outbreaks. So we should be grateful sometimes for what's going on in a month that farmers are anything grateful.
Yeah. Good way to leave it there. All right. Well, we will be back with you at the beginning of June. Actually, what day did we say we're going to record this? I'm trying to look in my notes. Do we have a date
You
yet?
probably have it on, like a phone.
I might have it somewhere.
I have it on this old guy's book.
Yeah, you gotta upgrade to Google Calendar.
We're talking on. No, I'm not doing that then.
I don't think we have a date yet.
I don't know. I don't see anything down.
All right, we'll decide a date for you. But let's put it this way: you will get a new episode around the turn of the month. There, that's for sure. And we'll recap to see how our May 13th went on the road.
There you go. Yep.
All right. Well,
have a good
birthday
day
again to you.
Same to you.
And shout out to all the May 13thers out there. And we'll be back with you guys in a few weeks. Thanks for listening and watching to Monthly Weather.